There we go. Welcome everyone to the Agile Leaders Series Masterclass. Who are you voting for? That was the title. I'm Lyndon Crow. I am a dad, a husband, a dog dad, a trail runner, a business owner, and president of Productive Learning. So, who is Productive Learning? I think similarly to how I introed last time, a better question is why is Productive Learning here? Why is because a little over 40 years ago, my dad sat in one of his first workshops where he just shared with the trainer a very vulnerable reveal for him. And the trainer reflected back to him how he had recreated his family of origins, be afraid of your own greatness mantra to a T, which had my dad then sit back in that workshop, staring off into nothingness, contemplating if he had ever actually made a conscious decision in his life, or was he unknowingly and unconsciously programmed to repeat not only his history of mediocrity, but his family's history of mediocrity. Maybe that makes sense to you. If not, let me put it another way. This company, Productive Learning, was founded on the understanding that our innate biological wiring is designed to not have us become great, nor is it designed to have us lose, nor even be mediocre. It is designed to have us repeat. Repeat what it has learned, repeat the good, the lows, the highs, the shortcomings, the insecurities, and unless you take deliberate action to shake yourself awake and do the hard work of living mindfully and intentionally, you are doomed to repeat it. Our company believes extraordinary is available to every company, every individual, every relationship. And it has become our mission to show people the door for which they personally will have to walk through to create that extraordinary. And then, if they choose to be guided and coached along their path. So when I connect to that why, my day is filled with freshness, novelty, excitement, growth, and those experiences thrill me. And the business owners and the executives and the individuals my team gets to work with to tap into every day on their coaching calls or their international retreats or our weekend getaways, we get to do that and we are thrilled. So now the question goes from why to how do we do that? Nothingness, contemplating if he had ever actually made a conscious decision in his life, or was he unknowingly and unconsciously programmed to repeat not only his history of mediocrity, but his family's history of mediocrity. Maybe that makes sense to you. If not, let me put it another way. This company, Productive Learning, was founded on the understanding that our innate biological wiring is designed to not have us become great, nor is it designed to have us lose, nor even be mediocre. It is designed to have us repeat. Repeat what it has learned, repeat the good, the lows, the highs, the shortcomings, the insecurities, and unless you take deliberate action to shake yourself awake and do the hard work of living mindfully and intentionally, you are doomed to repeat it. Our company believes extraordinary is available to every company, every individual, every relationship. And it has become our mission to show people the door for which they personally will have to walk through to create that extraordinary. And then, if they choose to be guided and coached along their path. So when I connect to that why, my day is filled with freshness, novelty, excitement, growth, and those experiences thrill me. And the business owners and the executives and the individuals my team gets to work with to tap into every day on their coaching calls or their international retreats or our weekend getaways, we get to do that and we are thrilled. So now the question goes from why to how do we do that? And today, let's talk about how, but in the context of the ultimate Thanksgiving dinner taboo conversation, politics. Dun, 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 fire, flames, all the good sound effects. Okay, cool. Let's talk about why boundaries matter. Setting boundaries is not about avoiding conversations. That is a rudimentary and limited way to think about boundaries. It is about understanding your limits and knowing when and how to engage. Think of it like this. If a political conversation makes you uncomfortable, that's a signal that your emotional boundaries are being tested. It's not just about the other person, it's about you. Today, we're going to explore what that looks like and how you can set your boundaries to keep you grounded in who you are. I'll give a personal story about this. So, I run a couple of conscious leadership circles, and in my groups are business owners from all different walks of life. We've got young and old entrepreneurs and owners, some with $1 million businesses that are complex, some that are $45 million that are seemingly straightforward. The owners have different religious backgrounds, different marital statuses, and you would guess different political opinions and affiliations. Some host democratic events at their house. Some don the "Don't Tread on Me" flag. All these people are lovely. All these people want to learn. All these people are eager to discover the best of them, and we are all human. So, 4 years ago, during the Biden-Trump runoff, I wanted to have an opening discussion on what the political environment would mean for their business. I didn't actually care about who they wanted to win. I wanted to discuss the impact they believe would happen to the economy overall, and then their industry, and then more specifically, their business. And then discuss if they were preparing themselves adequately for the different kinds of eventualities. Well, I naively thought we can get by the "who are you voting for" to talk about their business, and I was wrong. I opened with a similar prompt, just like I stated, and the first person said something akin to what it seems like half the population seems to think: if Donald Trump wins, the whole country is going to fall apart and we're all going to hell and it's all doomed. Now, in my meetings, I aim to develop the thinking, the mentoring, the facilitation of the leaders, and I do that by letting them discuss and debate, them challenge and inquire with one another, while I govern the conversation and support the facilitator to help them get to where they want to go with the volunteering participant. So I thought, ooh, this will be juicy. What will everyone do? And what did everyone do? Nothing. They were all scared. Nobody said a freaking word. And I took a moment after a couple of seconds and thought, what the fuck? Dude, you threw a bomb in the middle of the room, and so of course, no one is going to respond. That was lame. I wish you wouldn't have done that. You ruined my opening discussion with the first thing out of your mouth. And then I realized as I was hyping myself up, this is about 0.5 seconds after that pregnant pause of about 2 seconds. So we're on second number 3. I heard myself and I thought, wow, aren't you being a whiny victim? I'm speaking to myself. You got what you asked for, a response from one of your members. So why did you get thrown off kilter? Now remember, I'm asking myself this. I'm processing myself in real time, in the split seconds after the comment about Trump was thrown out. This is the skill I want you all to have. This is self-facilitation. You're going to get a couple of tidbits of what you can do specifically, but the end goal here, mastery, is self-facilitation. Okay, so back to the story. That was a little tangent. I realized that in that moment, their emotions triggered me. Their emotions triggered me. I felt attacked. I felt scared and then angry. And when I am unconscious and in reaction to those emotions, feeling fear and anger, my own response is to freeze. Some of you may be more in the fight type. Some of you may be more the flight type. Once I caught that and processed through that, which again, we're going to talk about soon for you all, I saw a human being a human, having human emotions and human thoughts, nothing that I am scared of. Am I okay? Yeah, I'm physically safe. Emotionally, now I feel stable again. Now I'll get curious. And so then I got curious and opened up the space for people to reflect on themselves about what just happened in that pregnant 3 or 4 seconds of nothingness, because that was an incredible and insightful conversation. And it was fused with politics and opinions and upsets and hopes, and everyone shared. It's something that I'm very proud of in the couple of CLC groups that I run, and in all of our retreats and coaching sessions, is that we can create that space. That facilitator is self-facilitating themselves to create not just neutrality, but curiosity, which then engages the other. Okay? So, understanding the why we react the way we do is what we want to look at. We often avoid conversations not because of the topic, but because of the emotions they stir up within us. When it's frustration or defensiveness or fear of conflict, these are reactions that arise from our own discomfort, not the other person. The other person is just a stimulus. Our emotions are the thing that pulls us off kilter. Everybody follow that? Nod if you follow that. Yes, Lyndon. Very good. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Ron. Reflect now for a moment. When you've avoided a conversation, was it because the topic was hard or because it made you feel something you didn't want to feel? Now, here's how you'll know. Have you ever had that topic of conversation and not been riled up? Or every time you have that topic of conversation, you're riled up? Interesting. Now we have to see what happens as to why the topic versus the emotion. Now, what I want you to do is in the chat box for me, everybody pull that up. What emotions come up for you when you think about having that difficult conversations? Type that into the chat. What is the emotion that comes up when you think about the topic that is difficult, that gets you riled up and off kilter? Defensiveness, disgust, fear, love it. Caution, ooh, I like it. Fear, defensive, angry to have to defend myself. Yes, perfect, perfect. Anxiety, yep, 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 yep. Love it. Okay, let's talk about what boundaries look like in practice now. Keep writing them up if you got some more. Good. It's not just saying, I don't want to talk about this. It's about being clear on what you can handle and what you need to do to maintain your emotional balance. That's the boundary that is the most centered for you and creates the healthiest outcome, not just for you, but the possibility for somebody else. So for example, if you know you tend to lose your cool during a political debate, it is okay to set the boundary. For example, I don't think I can have this conversation without getting too upset. Let's talk about something else. Do you hear how it's not about them? You hear how it's about you. You're taking care of yourself. That's a powerful move. And for me, I think that's a move that I respect from others. It doesn't pin it on anyone else, and they are taking full responsibility for themselves. So if you can't keep yourself level-headed, if you are noticing yourself get red with anger or scared or an elevated voice, hold your boundary for yourself. Again, this is like the example I used in my conscious leadership circle. I noticed, as much as I didn't put it out there, it was an elevated thought going in my mind and the emotion. Don't infringe on other people's domains. You need to hold your own boundary. Don't step onto the victim triangle and be a rescuer that saves them from their poor decisions, or a villain that makes them out to be wrong. If you are noticing those feelings, if you have looked at yourself and realized the feelings you have when you are on the victim triangle, step off the victim triangle. How do you do that? Take responsibility for yourself. Has nothing to do with the other person. Some of you may like the feeling of anger, may like the thrill of a debate. Super cool. Have at it if you consciously choose to go there. Now, let's talk about the difference between a dialogue and a debate. One important distinction is whether you're entertaining the conversations for a dialogue or a debate. A dialogue in this circumstance, I will say, is that you are there to listen, you are there to learn, and perhaps adjust your perspective based on what you hear. It is a back and forth for the evolution of you, possibly the other. A debate means that you are going to prove a point and you are looking to win. Both have time and place to be had. But what is it that you want to have? Knowing the difference will help you decide how and when you want to engage. So the question that you want to have in your hip pocket is first to yourself. Do I want to have a dialogue or a debate? Everybody follow? Not to the other person. This is to you. When you pause to let your own answer come up, then you know how to set your own boundary. For example, if you're open to either, you can offer that same question to the other party. Now, that said, if you offer that, you have to be willing to do either. Don't offer it if you're not willing to. Then you're just a dick. Okay? Right? Nobody wants to be that. That said, you may also say to yourself that you are open to a debate and you think it'll be fun to kind of go at it and see if we could have a fun, interactive debate. And then you may find yourself getting upset or frustrated or off center. Well, then go back to the first step at setting the boundary for yourself. Let me pause here. I realize I'm losing my cool, which isn't fun for me and may or may not be fun for you. So let's pause here. Maybe we can come back to it later, but let's pause. You may realize that after the fact. Totally cool. Changing your mind. Totally cool. Only way to do that in a healthy way is to take responsibility for yourself and let the other person know. Taking responsibility for yourself within you, good. With the parties that are involved, great. It is a vulnerable reveal, though. You are expressing where you are. That is a vulnerable place. That takes courage. Some of you that are less inclined to reveal yourself, that is a big leap forward. Some of you that are okay with putting your stuff out there, that may be, oh, good point. Let's just keep that ready to deploy. Okay? Now, on the other hand, those that ask for a dialogue and the other party says yes to a dialogue, you take responsibility for your emotions and your influence over the emotions of the group dynamics to keep it open and curious and with a genuine desire to learn. That means you have to continuously check within yourself. Are you really asking because you want to learn? Or do you want to show them something they don't know and then pin them? There's a feeling in there. That is the major tell. Let's look at it. Write in the chat the emotion you feel when you are genuinely interested and want to learn. What emotion do you feel when you are genuinely interested and want to learn? I could go for an emotion, or you could also type in the physical feeling you have in your body. Curiosity, curious. Okay, well, everyone's going curious. I love this. Calmness, very nice. Lean in. Karen, I dig that. Chest and throat is open. Love it. Excited. Yes, excited. We could find something new. There could be more here. What else is possible? I like that. Ooh, Jana, you go with eye contact. So you maintain eye contact? Is that what you mean? Yeah, I love that. Great observation of your eyes. Great awareness of your own physicality. We are physically expressing our emotions all the time. If we can become more aware, Jana, really nice job. Calm, open, intrigued, eye contact. Oh, interesting, Tom. When you are curious and you are genuinely interested in wanting to learn, you start to feel anxious. We'll have to have a conversation about that. Very interesting. Now, On the opposite side of that same coin, type in the chat the feeling you feel when you are asking because you want to pin them in a corner or show them where they are wrong. Kind of like your parents asked you, "Where were you?" after school when you didn't come home right away. They know what you did. They're looking to pin you. Righteous, feisty. Yeah. Frustrated. Yes. Angry. Feeling superior. Oh, interesting. Righteous, arrogant, excited. Now, how do all those feelings, I love that, confident in my position. How do all those feelings physically feel in your body? Where do you feel some type of energy? Is it your chest? Is it in your glutes? Is it in your shoulders? Is it your jaw because you're righteously holding your jaw together and you're going to prove your point? Where do you feel those emotions in your body? Or Jana and the other person, I don't remember who it was, that said eye contact. What happens with your eyes? Do you start looking down? Do you start looking off? Or do you start to glare with your eyes? Hunched shoulders, dead eyes. Ooh, got it. Like I'm no longer, we're not, yeah, nope, nothing there. Love that. Great. This is another area of awareness. If you think you're going to the curious dialogue, which is wonderful, kudos to you. It's a challenging place for sure, especially in a politically charged conversation and environment, right? We're days away or weeks away from election day. If you think you can go there, good. And just make sure that you're paying attention to your emotions and your physical feelings. They'll tell you where you should set your boundary. Your body's expressing everything you need for you. Are you paying attention to it? Okay. So note for yourself those two differences. If you're curious, if you're like me, when I'm talking to my daughter and I'm truly curious, who did she sit next to at lunch today? What did she learn? What kind of pumpkin did she draw? I know those feelings. Or if I'm asking Cassie, why didn't you follow up with that person about the corporate contract? I'm looking to pin somebody. I'm looking to make them wrong. I feel a difference. You've got to know the two differences and watch yourself, okay? Now, all of this so far, over and over again, has to do with you, your emotions, your physical body, your boundaries, what you are willing to do in a debate or whether you're willing to do a debate or a dialogue. Everything is for yourself. And again, if you are knowing or noticing that you are unable to continue on the conversation because you're getting elevated and you realize that when you are elevated, you are less conscious, then it is your responsibility to set the boundary that you may want to exit the conversation. It's not on them to manage you. If you put it on them to manage you, I would say I would bet that $1 that it is going to go off the rails. Got it? Got it. Okay. Now, in the chat, when was the last time you found yourself in a debate instead of a dialogue? And then what prompted you to realize that you were in a debate? Was it in the debate or was it post conversation after reflection? You realized, oh, ooh, maybe we shouldn't have gone there. Okay, think about that during the debate. Yeah, great. Good, that's good. We want to know when we're in the debate, the more consciousness we can bring to the moment, the better. If the bullet's been fired, they're still learning to do, but boy, oh boy, now we got to go clean up, right? Cheryl, great. Love it. Love it. Good observation of yourself. Okay, now let's shift the focus. How do we manage ourself instead of avoiding? So we've talked about bringing the awareness to where we are, right? Now, how do we manage? Because the goal isn't to avoid these tough conversations. unless you realize your boundary says, I just can't have it. Then you peacefully step out of the conversation. But my goal and productive learning's goal is that you can master your mental and emotional state so you can be in any environment and keep your cool. So how do we stay composed and present when those conversations arise? It's about being able to engage with somebody who holds a strong opinion or an opposing opinion without losing your emotional base. This is where emotional regulation becomes important. Emotional regulation, quick little background here, is the ability to manage and control your emotions in a healthy way. It means recognizing what you're feeling, understanding why you're feeling it, and deciding how to respond rather than reacting impulsively. It's like having the tools to stay calm and think clearly, even when you're upset and stressed. Now, when you are not emotionally regulated, how do you all respond? Type it in the chat. Would you get thrown off kilter? Fight, flight, freeze, appease, and then give me even more specifics. Do you go and see red, start to pull out your guns, start firing? Or do you bend over backwards, crawl on your back, and you become the bad person? You take the blame. What happens when you become emotionally unregulated? Do you say things you regret? Do you escalate the conversation? Or do you just feel overwhelmed and stressed? Start insulting, yep, freeze or flight, shut down, go to anger, yell and cuss, nice. Nice. I like it. Okay, good. It varies, but mostly overwhelmed. Tone gets condescending. Yep, I'm a put people, I start speaking in a punitive way. And I noticed too that my lean in, somebody said lean in is actually where they get more curious. My lean in is more of an aggressive lean in. We're ready to go tackle each other. Let's go. Come on. Let's go at it. Okay, good. Now, flip side, when you are regulated, when you feel centered, and you're still in that conversation that maybe for others could be triggering, but you are centered. How do you feel? Laughing, you're light. Oh, I love that. Relaxed. Relaxed and curious and at ease. Beautiful. I'm going back and forth and I'm not repeating questions. They're very similar though, because I want you to bring the awareness over and over again of these different states that you're in. You've got to take it out of theory and you've got to tap in. Want to understand. Yeah, you're seeking from them. I love that feeling. Be curious, evaluating the dynamic. Nice, Julianne. Your breath is very open and very happy. Love it. Now, will that happen even when you are emotionally regulated and calm, and you're in maybe a political conversation? Will your presence change the other person's emotions? Will they soften and then have a dialogue when you asked to have a dialogue instead of a debate? Maybe. I don't know. But what I do know is if you can manage your emotions and know where your boundaries are, then you can stay cool as a cucumber. And no matter the vitriol or opinions or objections or alignment or misalignment you have with the others, you will look back on yourself and feel okay with how you showed up. And it will be about you. That's when you win. Okay? Now, let's get practical. The second part of today's conversation is to discuss about how to manage your emotions. When you feel challenged in a conversation, it's often because something personal is at stake, whether that's your values, your beliefs, your identity. Instead of avoiding the conversation, we can train ourselves to manage those emotions. Now, I said something that I wanted to repeat. Something is at stake for us. We may be talking about abortion rights. We may be talking about immigration. We may be talking about tax law. But what is being confronted is our belief. And our beliefs are what create our identity. And when somebody challenges this thought about the taxes, this thought about Roe v. Wade, this thought about immigration, what happens is we take what is a thought we have or a belief we have, and we identify ourselves with it. And so now they are attacking our identity, hence our upset. If we can realize that they are attacking or talking about an idea that you also have an idea about, then we can see that we can have a conversation about this thing in front of us. It's not about me. It's about the thing. If we can't differentiate from that, we become our guacamole. Everybody know that story? No, probably not. We had a great guy on our staff, a friend of mine, Andy Schaus, and he was in a workshop with my dad, and he was actually talking about when he was working here, he was trying to put together a project, and I can't remember who, but somebody talked about the Excel spreadsheet that he had created to define and represent this project. And they were critiquing it and saying, it doesn't represent, it doesn't work, it's not right. And he felt so deflated and distraught. And then he went from deflated and distraught to angry and resentful. So then he goes and has this conversation with my dad, who was the trainer of the workshop at the time. And my dad laughs, not at him, but laughs and says, "You've become your guacamole." And he says, "What do you mean?" "Well, you know that experience when you're going to a potluck and everyone's supposed to bring whatever they're supposed to bring. You bring the chips, you bring the guacamole, you bring salsa, you bring beans, you bring the meat, and then you put it on." And he remembers one time he was supposed to bring guacamole. So he makes his guacamole. He happens to really like and think his guacamole is very tasty. So he brings the guacamole, he puts it down, he has a couple bites, and he thinks, "Yep, really good." He turns and then immediately turns back to the table. And at that point, a new person had come and put something on the table, grabbed a chip, had a bite of the guacamole, and said, "Ooh, I don't like this stuff," and then just walked away. And my dad felt distraught. How could somebody not like my guacamole? And he started to realize within himself, he's getting pissed off and angry. And he's thinking, well, then I'm just going to fucking eat my own guacamole by myself. And he almost goes to grab the guacamole and walk away with it. And he realizes, what am I doing? I am not my guacamole. Maybe they don't like my guacamole. It means nothing about me if they like me or not. And I like me, so I'm good. And so now we have this phrase, you have become your guacamole. Your beliefs are your beliefs, but that doesn't necessarily mean if you're talking about a debate, do you need to be the belief or the thought or the way for the taxes to be right or the way for immigration to work or the way for women to have whatever rights they need to have? Have the conversation about the thing. Your beliefs about yourself are different. Separate the two. Okay? Okay. I keep distracting myself with fun different scenarios. I got to go back to managing our emotional regulations. Okay, here we go. Now, I'm going to give you two very easy and yet powerful tools to regulate your own emotional states. They will sound cliche. They will sound boring to use. And let me tell you, there are so many psych studies and scientific studies that say this is so helpful and beneficial that it sometimes seems like we move right over what is so easy and in front of us. And by the way, both of these are completely free and available to you all the time. Okay, ready? Number one, breathe. Taking deep breaths to calm your body. This helps slow down before reacting. And what it does is it activates the vagus nerve, which turns on the parasympathetic system, and it turns off the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is the one that gets triggered when you're in fight or flight, right? You're going to be attacked. Sympathetic system is going to turn on and say, time to get the heck out of here. The bear's coming. The villain's coming. Let's run. We need to turn that one off. The fastest, cheapest, and always available method to turn that system off and to turn on the parasympathetic system is to breathe. Here's how I personally like to do it. You're going to breathe in 4 times, or to a count of 4. And on the 4th, you're going to do a 5th one and try to overinflate your lungs. So you feel like you're full on 4. Grab that 5th second breath and breathe out for 4. And on the breathing out, similarly to the breathing in, on the 4th, where you feel like your lungs are completely depleted, push even further. Breathe out even more. Get every ounce of air out of your lungs. And do that 3 times. Shall we practice? Yes, Lyndon, we shall. Everybody ready? Here we go. I will count. Breathing in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Big huff in. And then let it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And push out the last part. Do it again. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last one. 5. And breathe it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And push out the last one. That was twice. That will turn on the parasympathetic system, which regulates the entire nervous system, which then functions all the rest of your body, all of your muscles, all of your organs to calm down. Okay. Practice number 2. One of the things that we want to do, well, let me back up and give some context. When we are in fight or flight mode, when we are in fear or anger or upset, all those different things that you've been chatting into the chat box, what happens is we lose being present in the moment and we start to think out into different time frames, typically into the future, sometimes into the past, especially if we are triggered by something that happened in the past. And what we lack is the reasoning of where we are currently. And in order to bring us back to presence, here's another super cheap, aka free, always available tactic for you, is to go through the 5 senses. So what you'll do is walk yourself through the 5 senses. First, you'll go through sight. Focus on something in the room. Could be the flicker of a candle. It could be the curve or the angle on the doorknob. I like to look at something specific and look at the curve of it. Not just to look at the armoire, not just to look at the chair, look at the curve of the shoulder of the chair. It brings me to present because now I'm focusing on something in the room that's right now. The second sense, sound. Turn into all of the background noise. If there's clinking of glasses or silverware, if there's a lawnmower outside, if there's the wind going on outside, notice the sounds that are all around you. Is the air conditioning, are you at work and the air conditioning is on and it's always on? It's there, and sometimes we tune it out because our mind starts to think about other things, not the present moment. These are bringing us back to the present moment. Third thing, touch. Feel something. In college, when I was practicing counseling in my psych degree, I didn't realize, actually I was told that I shouldn't be doing it. I didn't realize whenever I was counseling somebody, I always had a pen in my hand and I was always slowly spinning it or twirling it. And my professor had told me, you're anxious. It was very funny. She walks up in the middle of me facilitating somebody. She walks up and she pauses and she says, "Are you nervous, Lyndon?" And I said, "How did you know?" She said, "Because of what you're doing with your pen. You're unconsciously trying to presence yourself," which is a good thing, she said, but it can be a distraction for your pupil or the client that you're working with. So you need to be able to presence yourself without this. Guys, You can presence yourself by holding onto that fork at the dinner table. You can presence yourself by when you're sitting down, touching your jeans, your thighs would feel what the texture of your pants or your jeans are. It doesn't matter what. It's the fact that you are touching something that is in the here and now. So touch something. Then go to smell. This one doesn't work very well for me. For some people, it is. I don't have much of a nose. I think it's related to the fact that I don't taste very well. I think it's all in there. But for some people, smell is huge. Smell is huge. So you take during those breaths something that actually has you notice what is the smell of the room. If you're at dinner, are you smelling spices and turkey and pie? What are you smelling? What it's doing is it's bringing you back to present. And then the last thing is taste. What I like about this one is it kind of touches multiple things. It is a touch thing. If you start to notice your tongue, where is your tongue in your mouth? Is it in the roof of your mouth? It is in the bottom of your mouth. And then notice there is a taste in your mouth. There's something. There's a texture and there's a taste. If you can walk yourself through those five senses, it brings you back to present while you're also doing your breathing. You're shutting down that sympathetic nervous system, turning on the parasympathetic nervous system, and you are coming back to feeling centered. At that point, you have developed, or hopefully you will be having developed those skills to keep you calm and grounded. And then you can handle the situation better. Now, once you realize and bring yourself back to center, you kind of go back to the beginning of the conversation. Do I need to set a boundary? Am I done? Or now that I'm calm and I've brought an awareness to what is going on, do I actually think that I can engage? Similarly to my conscious leadership circle example at the very beginning. At first, I was off kilter. I then presenced myself and I was then ready to engage again. But I could have very easily said, you know what? I actually realize everybody, this is going to have me be too triggered. And I can see that everybody's a little bit kind of closed up after that comment. Let's actually curb that and let's go back to your business updates. I could have done that if I'd noticed myself unable to, if I didn't think that I was unable to maintain a balance level. So you just got to go and back to maintaining what is your boundary. Can you stay in, or should you gracefully exit out? Make sense? Okay, ready to practice? Here we go, folks. Okay, so remember, we've got two things that you're going to be practicing at the same time. Breathing, 3 breaths on a count of 4, and then the 5th one is that big breath in, and then a count of 4 out with that last purge of air out of your lungs on the 5th one. You're going to do that 3 times, and you're also going to go through the 5 senses: sight, sound, touch, smell, taste. Got it? Here we go. Let's go into it. Some of these may be triggering for you. Some of these may not be. But let me tell you, my thoughts about this political situation is that if you are voting Democrat, you are killing babies. Go through your 5 senses. Go through your breathing right now. Practice. Sight, sound, touch, smell, taste. Notice what's happening within you as you are doing that breathing. You got to do the practice, folks. Okay. I would love to hear through the chat, what emotion did you start with when I made the comment that if you're voting Democratic, voting Democrat, you're voting to kill babies? Where did you start? And at the end of your 3 breaths and 5 senses of presencing, where did you end? What emotion did you start with? What emotion did you end with? Throw it into the chat. Let me hear. Where did you all go? We did a real world example. Still riled up? Keep breathing. Tense, then more use anger, disappointment, sad. Started with anger, ended with a bit of disassociation. Ah, interesting. Good. If you are feeling anything less than level, even if you're not fully engaged, if you're feeling anything less than level, continue to do the breathing and go back through the five senses. Started with anger, ended with relax. Sat up taller, tingly defensiveness, and then present and calm. Still riled up, but way less so. But angry at the opposite side, got calmer. Love it. Great. Ended with dead eyes. Yeah, Shauna. Yeah. Okay. This is the practice right here. This is the practice. Are you supposed to then come back to feeling completely neutral and fully engaged? That would be the ideal goal. But what our primary goal is to not spiral ourselves out or maintain at that high aggravated level. I'd rather feel a little bit of disassociation than red anger. Okay? Let's try this again, because that wasn't actually what I believe. What I do believe is that if you're voting Republican, you're voting to eliminate democracy and elect a convicted felon and an insurrectionist as a dictator. Do your practice. Breathe and go through your five senses. Sight, sound, touch, smell, taste. Okay. Once you've gone through those 3 breaths, same chat prompt. Where did you start? And then where did you end? Where did you start? And where did you end? Karen, perfect. That's great. Great observation. I didn't know, I was more angry that I didn't understand what you meant, which is a very normal place for people to get to in a political conversation, especially when it turns into a debate and or somebody's trying to pin another person. Create confusion. Started and ended in the same place. No triggers for me. Great. Great. Anybody, one thing that I want to actually talk about as we get to this next portion and start to get towards our wrap up here is what we want to do. What we want to do is regulate ourselves. And typically, what we think about is that we are regulating when we are in that angry, when we are in the fearful mode, when we are in all of those triggered states that we had talked about earlier. We also want to regulate if we get onto a righteous, too optimistic, too feeling of alignment where we actually lose our emotional state, our emotional center as well. If you get yourself riled up with the same group of people that feel the same way and you lose your center, that's as much emotionally dysregulation as it is if you were in a debate with somebody and that had opposing views. You've still become your guacamole. Do you follow me? When you become your guacamole, you're doomed if anyone counters it or if anybody agrees with it. They're making you right or wrong, and it's not about you being right or wrong. It's about you owning who you are and what you believe. And the topic is the topic. The thing is over here that we're debating. So everyone's got these 2 things. If you can regulate yourself using your breath and your 5 senses, and you can come down from the highs or up from the lows to be closer to that regulated center, You are far better than most people. So congrats. That is truly a game changer. If you can do that at home, if you can do that at your company when between employees, you're better than most. You're above average. I'll give you a B. Congratulations. Now, if you want to reach master's level, the real mover and shakers of the world, this is where you have to listen up. Those that seem to face the opposition and not just stay steady within themselves, but are able to actually build bridges and bring unity, unite people to a common cause. Hello, all business leaders and managers and directors and parents. Then the goal is to not just be neutral and steady within yourself. The goal is to move to a state of curiosity and asking questions so that you can learn, so that you can empathize and you can understand why they believe genuinely what they believe. You can only do this when you are centered within yourself and confident with who you are. If you need to debate and challenge, then you have your own insecurities about something about you. And I don't know what that is, but now you're having to fight that your guacamole is truly, really tasty. The true transformation is not just of yourself to regulate down to centered, but to be an curious, interested, and empathetic human. When you can do that, your influence starts to move out through your spheres of influence.
I just want to eat guacamole.
Well, Diane, if you want to have guacamole, maybe Ron will make it for you at lunch. Everybody follow? The goal is to first get back to regulated. Second step is to move to a state of curiosity. That is a master's level. And if you want to learn it to be on your A game like that, no matter how reactive the situation, then I invite you, set up a call with me. Do that by, Jamie, if you wouldn't mind, emailing me, lyndona@productivelearning.com, and let's talk about how to move to a master level. We talked about how to get center, which will be a game changer in that political conversation at Thanksgiving. Game changer, because you won't be an antagonist. You will neutralize, which is a wonderful thing. But if you want to be a mover and shaker in this world, if you are a leader in business, or if you want to learn how to parent at a master's level, then you've got to not just get back to neutral, you've got to build bridges even with opposing parties. Okay, so let's wrap up. Takeaways. Boundaries are about protecting your emotional state. Your emotional state. Remember, you can't control the other. But with practice and coaching, you can control yourself regardless of the external circumstances. 2, emotional awareness and self-regulation through breathing and presencing. You can't do anything conscious if you aren't aware you are triggered. And then you have 2, free, always easy, always accessible things to you. Breathing slowly and going through your 5 senses. Number 3, recognizing when you're entering into a debate versus a dialogue. Know what you want and check in with the other party as to what they are willing to have. If at any point you are unwilling to have one of those, gracefully exit. And number 4, to be a master influencer, you move not just to neutrality, but to curiosity. Then you're going to build connections, even with opposing parties. So I would love, if you're open to it, your homework. To turn in your homework, you all have to email me, lyndona@productivelearning.com, with the name of the person and the topic that will be most triggering to you. Oh, look at it. And then you get balloons if you do that. Name of the person and the topic that is most triggering to you. If it's politics and Thanksgiving, great. If it's abortion rights, fantastic. If it's a conversation with your boss or your coworker about compensation or what your rate of pay is or asking for the close, fantastic. Whatever it is, it could be about you and parenting your kids. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Shoot an email to lyndona@productivelearning.com. Tell me the person and the topic, and then I will give you some feedback and some additional tips. Also, please like us on Facebook and LinkedIn and introduce me to somebody at your work, whether it's me coming in and leading a training session or me coming and doing a private Zoom session like this or something else. I'm happy to do that and would love your introduction. So introduce me. Everybody, thank you very much for taking the time. I wish you all the best of luck. Continue to breathe, continue to presence yourself. And then if you want to get to a master's level, shoot me an email, lyndona@productivelearning.com. Have a wonderful Halloween coming up. Maybe we'll see each other before Thanksgiving next month in our next Agile Series Masterclass. Bye-bye.